God of War 6. What is next for the God of War series? Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of people have been speculating what mythology they're going to do for God of War 6 because, there are a lot of options to choose from. You could pick Chinese mythology, Aztec mythology. Now, obviously, we know the existence of other mythologies in God of War because, it's just been blatantly shown to us that other mythologies exist. But the question is, what is the next one? What is the next step of the God of War series? So essentially, I've seen some people say that God of War 6 should take place in Egypt. The reason why is because Egypt was actually shown in the God of War comics. The craziest thing is you can also see an Egyptian god in this comic panel, so that pretty much shows you right there. I feel like Kratos returning to Egypt is probably the most realistic one that can happen because we've already seen Egypt pretty much in God of War. We haven't seen any other mythology. We haven't seen Chinese mythology. We haven't seen Japanese mythology. We just haven't seen any of them. So God of War 6 return to Egypt is highly possible. Even though God of War 6 is most likely probably going to be Egyptian mythology, it's still fun to expand on the possibilities and mythologies they can basically add into this universe. Another good example is Tyr. Let's just watch a clip of Tyr.
Occupies the body while our minds work out the rest. Because you're not ready. Yet. Returns. I brought something else to keep things interesting. You're not the only one with weapons from far off lands, you know. Ready? I have another cherished weapon from my travels to show you. Ready to see? Honor me with another sparring match.
Now, Tyr pulling out all of those weapons from different mythologies just shows you the amount of possibilities they can do when it comes to picking a mythology for God of War 6. He pulled out a katana at the end. Imagine the next game is Japanese mythology and Kratos just whips out a katana and has samurai armor. Now, that would be pretty cold to see. Now, someone actually made an analysis for every weapon Tyr pulled out to figure out what mythology it was from. The katana was obvious because most people know Japan and samurais, they use katana as weapons. Now, the first weapons that Tyr actually pulled out was a spear and a shield. This spear and shield is actually from Greek mythology. Now, if you are living under a rock or just didn't pay attention to the game at all, Tyr actually visited Greece. In God of War 2018, you actually go to Tyr's treasure room where you actually find a vase of Kratos in Greece. Heck, we can also even see that he visited other mythologies. You can see Asian mythology in here, you can see Aztec mythology, you can see Japanese mythology, so it already shows you there are a lot of mythologies, so it's a lot that they can really go with the next game. Even the craziest part is how all of these characters are just traveling to different mythologies on a boat. Like, they're just getting in the water, getting on a boat, and rowing over into the next mythology. Like, the God of War, the way the world works in God of War, with all the mythologies coexisting, that's pretty crazy to think about and how it all works. However, let's get back into talking about the weapons that Tyr actually pulled out from the different mythologies. Alright, so the second one is actually Aztec mythology. Now, judging from my research, this is actually a wooden sword, and the wooden sword is what the average Aztec warrior used, I suppose. Now, one of the pronunciations for this weapon is actually called the Macana. This is probably the type of weapon you would see like in a museum or something, the Aztec wooden sword. It looks promising. Imagine seeing Kratos with this weapon one day. God of War 6 could possibly be Aztec mythology. Maybe the weapons they showed, all of them are showing the exact mythology that they can do, like just from those weapons, which was where they already did Greek, but they can do Egyptian. We've already seen Egypt. They could do Japanese or they could do Aztec. Now, if I had to pick one, I would probably go with Japanese mythology. I mean, imagine seeing Kratos in full samurai armor with a katana. I mean, who wouldn't want to see that? However, let's move on to the third weapon that Tyr pulled out, which I think was Egyptian mythology. Now, in the screenshot, we can actually see a Tyr holding two bladed, curved looking weapons, and these weapons are actually from Egyptian mythology. Now, this weapon was actually called the Kophesh. It was actually used a lot of times in ancient times. It was used for things like farming, it was used for hunting, and I'm pretty sure it was used for fighting. I mean, we see Tyr using the weapon. They kind of remind me of the Blades of Chaos. Maybe they're like Tyr's version of the Blades of Chaos, but as you know, nothing replaces the Blades of Chaos. Not even a Leviathan X, maybe, but come on, the Blades of Chaos are an absolute classic at this point. I'm pretty sure some of you guys or the OG God of War fans remember getting the Blades of Chaos in God of War 4 and just being taken back. I mean, a purely legendary weapon. Alright, as you guys know, the fourth and final weapon was the katana. I pretty much already spoke on this. It's from Japanese mythology. It's a weapon that samurais use. So maybe God of War 6 taking place in Japan. Kratos becomes a samurai. He has to beat the pantheon, the Japanese gods or something like that. But the question is, what about mythologies that haven't been shown in God of War? Like Chinese mythology. Maybe Kratos meets up with Wukong, or someone even recommended that Christianity should come into play for God of War. Kratos should just go meet up with Jesus and they'll fight. I mean, come on. Jesus would probably just kill Kratos. I mean, he probably wouldn't even kill him. He would just forgive him for all his sins, because Jesus, he's not a fighter. He's a lover. Now, as you can see right here, Christianity actually exists within the God of War universe. So it's possible. This would mean Jesus would canonically exist in the God of War universe. Bro, imagine how many mythologies exist within this verse. I mean, you could probably just think of any mythology you have studied, like in history, or just freaking searched up if you like a big fan of mythologies, and just all these mythologies could just possibly exist within the God of War universe. I mean, it's infinite possibilities we're talking about. Now, I'm pretty sure most people have heard of Black Myth Wukong. I mean, Black Myth Wukong and Wukong in general has been getting a lot of popularity lately. I'm pretty sure you've probably seen the comparisons between who would win in a fight, Kratos or Sun Wukong. Now, if you've been on TikTok, I'm pretty sure you've been seeing this. However, instead of a fight, imagine this. Now, remember I said that it's infinite possibilities because they can include Chinese mythology and God of War. So this is the biggest one. Imagine Kratos meeting up with Sun Wukong. God of War, Journey to the West. Now, God of War doing Chinese mythology would be crazy, because this would actually buff Kratos. I mean, him fighting Sun Wukong, or at least teaming up with him, would be cool. And I don't want to hear all the power scalers jumping in my comics. So, oh, this wouldn't be possible because Sun Wukong would just kill Kratos in just a couple hits. So this wouldn't be possible. But just stop, put power scaling aside for 1 second, and just imagine a scenario like this. They could just buff Kratos, but God of War doing Chinese mythology would actually be fire. Imagine Kratos and Sun Wukong teaming up against Buddha. You know, another thing that's supposed to be coming out is actually the Atreus spin-off game. So maybe they can give us an indicator of where the next mythology would go, because they've already stated that they're done with Norse mythology. I mean, the story's wrapped up. It's pretty much nowhere to expand on it. Now, as of now, in the current time period, we have no news on the Atreus spin-off game. So if someone's on this, like probably in the future, probably telling me what mythology has happened, I mean, congratulations. Okay, so going back to God of War, Journey to the West, Wukong and Kratos meeting up. If Christianity exists in the God of War universe, then you can't deny that Chinese mythology will also exist within the God of War universe. So canonically, Sun Wukong also exists within the God of War universe. So they could possibly do it like this. Sun Wukong and Kratos meeting up. I would probably want that over Japanese mythology, if I'm being honest, because obviously if you play Black Myth Wukong, I mean, it looks fire. I've never played it before, but imagine, well, I know that's not that version of Wukong, because you actually play as a different monkey in Black Myth Wukong, a descendant of him who is actually trying to save the real Wukong. That's pretty crazy when I heard that. I also have a question for the audience. Where do you think God of War 6 should take place? What mythology should they do? Should they do Christianity? Should they do Chinese mythology? Or just any mythology you could think of? Let me know in the comments. Obviously, if you made it this far. Another thing about God of War 6 is some people think they're going to make Atreus the main character. And if they do, it is going to be a lot of outrage. People just want to see Kratos. They just want to see Kratos run through every pantheon ever. But another thing people need to understand is Kratos' development. He's leaving more of the rageful and violent side of himself. He's trying to become a better person. This is what God of War has really been trying to show us since like 2018. I mean, we see him fall back into his rageful habits sometimes, but overall he's just trying to become a better person. So we might not see him trying to just jump on every pantheon and slaughter them unless he has a reason to do so. He's not the violent God of War anymore. He is the God of hope. Another thing I want to discuss is the ending of Norse mythology within God of War. So, if you don't know by now, obviously you know the Norse saga is pretty much done. They wrapped it up. It's been concluded. So what's going to happen to all the characters that we met in Norse mythology, like Freya, Mimir? What's going to happen to all of them in the next game? I'm just going to come under the assumption that they just follow Kratos to whatever mythology he goes, but maybe not. But I'm assuming Mimir will go with him because Mimir goes with Kratos to pretty much everywhere. So Mimir is 100% going to be in the next game. I mean, he has knowledge on the other pantheons, like he knew about Zeus, so obviously he's an important factor here. However, to end this video off, I need you to go in the comments, if you made it this far, to actually tell me where do you think God of War 6 should take place, because everybody has different opinions on where the next game should take place. Some people say Egyptian, some people say Japanese, some people say Chinese mythology, some people even say Christianity. So if you made it this far into the video, which I very much appreciate it, let me know what mythology they should do in the comments. Thank you for watching if you made it this far.